Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the fourth canto, chapter 24, text 61. Yo maye yadam puru rupaya srijad vivati bhuya chapatyaya vikir kriyaha yad veda buddhi savivatma dushtaya tvamatma tantram bhagavan pratimaha mahi ya, one who, mayaya, by his energy, idam, this, puru, manifold, rupaya, manifestation, asrija, created, vibharti, maintains, bhuya, again, chapayati, annihilates, avikriyaha, without being altered, yat, that, beda buddhi, sense of differentiation, sat, eternal, eva, like, atma dushtaya, giving trouble to oneself. Wow, that's a nice word. Giving trouble to oneself. Tvam, unto you. Atpatantram, fully self-independent. Bhagavan, O Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prati mahi, I can understand. My dear Lord, you have manifold energies, and these energies are manifested in manifold forms. With such energies, you have also created this cosmic manifestation. And although you maintain it as if it were permanent, you ultimately annihilate it. Although you are never disturbed by such changes and alterations, the living entities are disturbed by them, and therefore they find the cosmic manifestation to be different or separate from you. My Lord, you are always independent, and I can clearly see this fact. So, we have this word, atma dushtaya, which means giving trouble to oneself. And then in the translation, Prabhupada says Krishna annihilates, and then everyone's disturbed by the annihilation. And so how do you put together atma dushtaya, disturbing yourself and disturbed by annihilation? So it must mean that we're allowing ourselves to be disturbed by something, then therefore we're disturbing ourselves. We don't have to be disturbed. There's so many things that are disturbing, but we don't have to be disturbed. So in that sense, the disturbance is coming from ourselves. You might say, this is disturbing, but it's not disturbing to that person, it's disturbing to me. Mm-hmm. So that therefore I'm just allowing that to disturb me, so I'm disturbing myself because of that, and I don't have to. It is clearly explained that Lord Krishna has multi-energies which can be grouped into three, namely the external, the internal, and the marginal. There are also different cosmic manifestations, namely the spiritual world and the material world, as well as different types of living entities. Some living entities are conditioned, and others are eternally free. The eternally free living entities are called nitya mukta, for they never come in contact with the material energy. However, some living entities are conditioned in this material world, and thus they think themselves separated from the Supreme Lord. Due to their contact with the material energy, their existence is always troublesome. Being always in distress, the conditioned soul considers the material energy to be very much disturbing. This fact is explained by a Vaishnava kavi or poet. Krishna Buli Se Jiva Anadi Bahirmukha Ataiva Maya Tarideya Samsharaduk. This is from the Majjhila, chapter 20, verse 117. Where the living entity forgets the Supreme Lord and wants to enjoy himself independently, imitating the Supreme Lord. He is captured by the false notion that he is the enjoyer and he is separated from the Supreme Lord. The material energy is therefore very much troublesome to the spiritual energy, the living entity. But the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord, because we're not using it for its purpose, so it's troublesome to us. We're trying, it's kind of like if you steal something, police are looking for you, your life's not peaceful. So we're stealing from Krishna, so it's just, and then the karma comes, and then all this trouble comes. But there's, so here's the material energy, and Prabhupada's saying, for us, it's trouble, and for Krishna, it's no trouble. It's just his energy. Or it's like you have a technological device, or you have a machine, and you don't operate it properly. And so sometimes you could get hurt, or it just creates problems. Things don't work right. Something like that. The Lord is always independent, but because the living entities are not independent, due to their false idea of becoming independently happy, the material energy is troublesome. Consequently, the material energy creates differentiation. This is mine, this is yours. This is good, this is bad. So if there's no duality, nothing's bad. There's no trouble. We create duality because we want to enjoy. So if you want to enjoy, then you have to discriminate what's good and what's bad. Right? You don't always get the good, so sometimes you get the bad, and because you've decided it's bad, then you suffer. Because you've designated, this is bad, I don't like this, well now this is what you have. You have to deal with it. No, I don't like it, so I suffer. It's not good or bad, it's Krishna's. Use it in his service. If it's bad, you can't use it in his service. It has nothing to do with you. So you don't suffer. Oh, this is bad, we can't offer it to Krishna. So it doesn't mean now I don't get sense gratification. No, because... So, that's the idea. If it's good and bad in relation to Krishna's service, we don't suffer. It's good and bad in relation to our sense gratification, then we suffer when it's bad. So in the sense of seeing it good and bad as it's utilized for Krishna, it's not really considered duality. The duality comes when we consider it good and bad for ourselves, because then we get affected. This is not good for Krishna. Okay, we can't offer it. But my sense gratification is not affected because it was never for my sense gratification. Sometimes how you become attached to something and then you don't get it, you suffer. Right? But we may be attached to doing some seva for Krishna. There maybe, if we're not successful, there's some kind of suffering, but there's also the bliss in making the effort. So because it's absolute. Because the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they want to be relieved from the material energy. However, because a Vaishnava philosopher is in full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he finds no disturbances even in the material energy. This is because he knows how to utilize the material energy for the service of the Lord. In the government, the criminal department and civil department may appear different in the eyes of the citizens. But in the eyes of the government, both departments are one and the same. Because they're not in the prison, they're managing the prison. So to them, they're managing one thing or managing another thing. It's just management. But if you live in the prison, obviously it's different. The criminal department is troublesome for the criminal, but not for the obedient citizen. Similarly, this material energy is troublesome for the conditioned soul, but it has nothing to do with the liberated souls who are engaged in the service of the Lord. So, Prabhupada is saying, Daivi guna mayi mama maya. You can't cross over material energy, but if you're a devotee, you can cross over material energy. So, material energy is not a problem for a devotee. He's using it for Krishna. It's a problem for anyone who wants to use it for themselves. Just as when you steal, you have problems with the government. So you steal, you'll have problems with Maya.
But Adhidayika also a problem. Adhidayika.
Yeah. But the threefold miseries, they don't affect the devotee in the same way they affect the non-devotee.
Sometimes changing plan.
But because it's for Krishna, it has a different effect.
Because of the Krishna. Yes, we should connect it with Krishna.
It's like Prabodhananda Saraswati says that for a devotee, everything is happiness, even in the material world, because it's all connected to Krishna. So yeah, we suffer threefold miseries, but we don't suffer threefold miseries. At least not in the way that conditioned soul suffers.
I understand this as we will find what to do for Krishna. Then you never suffer. You cannot do this, you will do anything else.
Yeah. There's always, we always have service. Suffering is due to a lack of sense gratification, or a lack of material fulfillment. And therefore we suffer. But there's never a lack of spiritual fulfillment, because you have Bhagavatam, you have Sangha, you have the holy name. So even if in your service you're not successful, still you're fulfilled in your relationship with Krishna. That's fulfilling. Of course, you want to do more service for Guru and Krishna, but you're fulfilled in your relationship with Krishna because you're not trying to steal from Krishna. You're not trying to imitate Krishna. So what Prabhupada's saying is, as soon as you try to steal from Krishna, then you have trouble.
But can we sort the stealing? It is not fulfilling the will of Guru, or it is what you're not offering to Krishna?
It's that, but it's also more in how you see it. Because anything that we see, this would be good for my sense gratification. So I've already stole it by my vision. Stealing is just a vision that this is mine, or potentially I could have it.
But sometimes we're forgetting to offer for some drink. Is it stealing?
Well, if it's water or soda, not so much. But
milk, I forgot some.
I don't think it's conscious.
It is
just maybe a lax attitude of bhakti. But consciously, I want this, I want to enjoy this. I don't see this. I don't see how I can employ this in Krishna's service. That's when all the trouble starts.
Mahaprabhu, but we know some devotees, they are offering to Krishna like offering, but actually they do it for themselves.
Yeah. So it starts in the mind. Mind is more important than the physical. So, I like to give an example that Prabhupada gave. When we offer something to Krishna, we don't smell it, we don't taste it, we don't in any way think, how I will enjoy this. So that's the mood. And that you have to practice, but for one who's more advanced in Krishna consciousness, that's just how they see it. They would never think of enjoying something for themselves. So Prabhupada said something very interesting. He said, let's say there's a flower, and you want to offer that flower to Krishna. Well, just like when we prepare bhoga and we cover the plate and we bring it on the altar, so no one will see it, because if someone sees it, they'll think, that looks delicious. And so in their mind, they've enjoyed it. And now you can't offer something to Krishna that's already been enjoyed. So thinking that I can enjoy it is the same as eating it, basically. So you have to cover the plate so nobody sees it. So Prabhupada said, let's say I see a flower, and I think this flower is a very fragrant flower, and I would like to offer this to Krishna. He said, I never saw the flower as for my enjoyment. I only saw it for Krishna. Therefore, it's offerable. But if I see the flower and go, oh, that's a nice flower, I like to smell that flower, and I think, oh, I should offer that to Krishna first. I can't offer it because I've already enjoyed it. So when I see it for my enjoyment, it's material. When I see it for Krishna's enjoyment, it's spiritual. So Prabhupada said, you cannot offer anything material to Krishna, you can only offer something spiritual. And by spiritual, Prabhupada meant you can only offer what was intended from the beginning for offering to Krishna. But if it was intended at any point for someone's personal use or personal gratification, it's not offerable because it's material, and material things can't be offered to Krishna, it must be spiritual.
But how we can offer if it is never was our? How we can offer the things which never was our?
Never was ours in the first place, like you buy in the store.
But still it was creating when...
But at that point, at least, you saw it for Krishna. And so at that point, now, at least for you as the Brahman offering it, you only saw it for Krishna. So now you can offer it.
I thought that maybe if I find something that actually belongs to Krishna, and it is attracting me because it is his creation, and I want to use it for him.
That's okay. We're attracted to many things in relation to how we can use it for Krishna. Then that's fine. Yeah. Like one time Prabhupada was giving class and there was a problem with the microphone. I'm not sure what the problem is. I don't know if it was a cable or it was actually the microphone. And so it was interrupting the class. And then Prabhupada said, there's a Bengali saying, when you buy something, buy the best. In other words, this microphone is not functioning properly, so buy one that won't have this problem. So sometimes devotees are like that. Yeah, I have this service, so I want to get the best equipment so I can do the best job for this service. So, it may be mixed with my own desire. Like, I would like this equipment, because I just appreciate the quality that it produces. Maybe I don't need it that high quality, but I would like to offer that high quality to Krishna because he's God, so he deserves the best. So maybe mixed, but the main idea is that this is being used in Krishna's service. So that means you're still seeing it spiritually. If it's, I like this and I'll use it for Krishna, then that's material. Well, I wouldn't say entirely material, but not completely proper. It's supposed to be, I want to offer this service to Krishna using these things. And these are the best things I think should be used, or what I think will please Krishna the most, or how I can communicate Krishna consciousness in the best way. And so, therefore, I will do this and get this equipment and hire these people, whatever it is. And let's say I'm doing some broadcast on the internet now. I want to share Krishna consciousness with others, but there's a problem. I could become very well known, so that could be mixed with my desire to be well known. Or I want to do these videos to preach, but in my mind, that's in some place in my mind, I may be thinking that I want to be popular. Now, I might think I want to be popular because the more popular I am, the more people will listen to me. So that's fine. But if someone might think, I want to preach, but I also want to be popular, then it's mixed. It's not pure.
But it is very easy to understand, because one who wants to be popular, they put the big name everywhere, it is me, I did. But actually, this is ahankara. But when you do, and you're not saying that it is I did, and you're just doing, that people, information is more important. Then you understand, these people, they want to glorify themselves, not Krishna.
But at the same time, there are marketing principles that if you want to go from 100 hits to 100,000, you may have to utilize, and you may have to, it may look like you're promoting yourself, but you're letting other people market you.
But marketing also, material can be, this material.
Well, the material is the consciousness, not the, if you're in material consciousness, your marketing will be material. But if your motive is to attract people,
yes, I have one question.
Let me finish this.
Yes.
So if let's say I want to use the internet for preaching, right? And I'm a humble Vaishnava and I don't care about how many hits I get. But I only care about the hits because it means I'm communicating to more people. So, and if I'm a very humble Vaishnava, at that point I have to become detached from the process of getting more people to like me. It's like I don't want to be in that position where I'm promoting myself. And the team says, well, if you promote yourself, instead of preaching to 1,000 people, you can preach to 100,000. I say, oh. So now I have to become detached from promoting myself. So they do all the promotion. I let them do it, but I don't personally like it. I don't want it. But because it will help reach more people, and say, okay, you can do that. So it starts here. So what you do externally may not always be a direct manifestation of false ego. It may be manifestation of your desire to spread Krishna consciousness, like the big poster with your picture. So Prabhupada allowed that, when we were advertising programs. He never liked to be prominent, but we had him prominent. We always wanted to make him prominent. He always wanted to make Krishna prominent. But if you told Prabhupada, if we do this, you could preach to 100,000 people, he would say, do it, no question. He would do anything, definitely do anything. But he was never affected by it.
I agree that we should be recognized because we are personal.
Yes.
And if we're doing impersonal, somebody needs from somehow, then it is we're losing this
Yes.
personal mood. But once it happened in Vrindavan, Gargamuni Prabhu?
Gargamuni.
He collected different animation from all the world, including mine, and did a long tape and written there, spiritual sky present production or something.
Yeah.
And
stolen.
Like he did it,
Yeah, right.
I said, this is strange.
It's just called Vaishya.
This is marketing.
Yeah, so it's a simple principle. Anything good can be bad, and anything bad can be good, depending who's using it. Yeah. That's I think he thinks in the name of money you can do anything. Because the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this. This means that material energy is Krishna's. Because the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they want to be relieved from the material energy. Yeah, that's a good point. The Prabhupada's saying, we're not affected by material energy because we use it for Krishna. But for Mayavadis, there is no Krishna to use it for. So they just see, well, material energy is bad, so just get away from it. Everything is bad. Cars are bad, people are bad, money's bad. This is bad, that's bad. So we can't use it, so just get away from it. Because it'll destroy you. However,
how do you call this? Negative mood?
It's artificial renunciation. However, because a Vaishnava philosopher is in full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he finds no disturbance even in the material energy. This is because he knows how to utilize the material energy for the service of the Lord. It's just like, you think of all the things we have. We could, in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, I was setting up a studio. So as that money came, I would buy something, So over many, maybe like 10 years, I had a lot. I had good microphones, good speakers, good preamps. And I had 2 synthesizers and 2 modules. So it's like I had 4 synthesizers. So maybe each synthesizer.
It was in Dallas. It was in Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. So, I probably had like 3,000 different sounds or maybe more. And when I set it all up, I thought, if I wasn't a devotee, I could just spend the whole day and night in my studio every day, and just create music, because I love to do that. But that didn't happen, because I saw, well, this studio is for Krishna, and that means we only utilize it for service. So I didn't become entrapped by all the technology. And, I also had a few guitars. So I had a lot of stuff I could have. I could have spent a lot of time studying how to use it, which would have wasted a lot of my time learning the technology and making, just producing music for fun. That I would have been.
What was produced at that time? Was Ishapanisha?
No, that was before.
Before?
Yeah, Stay High Forever, and Higher Dimensions, and then, then my last album was started.
Did a lot of things.
My last album was made, took 13 years to finally finish. So, so we're saved from that problem because we see it for Krishna. Oh, this is for Krishna. So instead of just, we're like, I'm an artist. Let's say you're an artist. You paint all these abstracts. And this is what it means. And, what does that line mean? Well, it symbolizes the life of the lifeline. And what is that yellow? That symbolizes the light that comes into it. And so we don't do that kind of stuff. But we may have done it and we may like to do it. But we have to see how we could utilize that in Krishna consciousness.
But if in the future all the world will be Krishna consciousness, we will use all whatever.
Yeah, we'll use everything. Well, almost everything. Not marijuana. Well, maybe even medically. Certain things we wouldn't use, but most things we would use.
Sorry, I'm going to offer.
This material energy is therefore very troublesome to the spiritual energy, the living entity, but the material... wait. Because the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they want to be relieved from the material energy. However, because a Vaishnava philosopher is in full knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he finds no disturbance even in the material energy. This is because he knows how to utilize material energy for the service of the Lord. In the government, the criminal department and civil department may appear different in the eyes of the citizens. In the eyes of the government, both departments are one and the same. Criminal department is troublesome for the criminal, but not for the obedient citizen. Similarly, this material energy is troublesome for the conditioned soul, but it has nothing to do with the liberated souls who are engaged in the service of the Lord. Through the Purusha avatar, Mahavishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, created the whole cosmic manifestation. Simply by breathing out all the universes, the Lord creates and maintains the cosmic manifestation as Lord Vishnu. Then as Sankarshan, he annihilates the cosmic manifestation. Yet despite the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the cosmos, the Lord is not affected. The various activities of the Lord must be very disturbing to the tiny living entities, but since the Lord is supremely great, he is never affected. Lord Shiva or any other pure devotee can see this clearly without being blinded by Bheda Buddha or differentiation. For a devotee, the Lord is the Supreme Spirit Soul, since he is supremely powerful. His various powers are also spiritual. For a devotee, there is nothing material, for material existence only means forgetfulness of the Supreme Personality of God. Well, that's a nice statement. You understand English? I'll speak slow. For a devotee, there is nothing material. The tablet goes. For a devotee, there is nothing material, for material existence only means forgetfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's a beautiful explanation.
Not ready yet.
No. It's a beautiful explanation. Prabhupada just explained here how to define, the simple way to define material. Basically what we were saying, but perhaps even in a more succinct way. What is material? Forgetting Krishna. What is spiritual? Remembering Krishna. So here I am in this world, there's so many things, I forget Krishna, and now everything's material, because it means I'm only seeing it in relation to how I can enjoy it. So if I can enjoy it, I take it. If I can't enjoy it, I reject it. So the mind, the business of the mind, accepting, rejecting. I want, I don't want. So that's all the mind does, because it's all in relation to me. What do I like? What don't I like? And now if I see everything in relation to Krishna, accepting and rejecting is also there. What can I use for Krishna? What can't I use for Krishna? And so, just like Prabhupada said, you see a beautiful woman. And so, obviously, if you're not a devotee, you see a beautiful woman and you think, oh, I would like to enjoy the woman. But if you're a devotee, you think, oh, she would make a nice devotee. And she could preach, and so many men would become devotees because she's so beautiful. So she should become a devotee. She's very beautiful. Then when she preaches, all these men, they'll want to listen to her, and whatever she says, they'll accept it. So you're thinking her beauty could be used in Krishna's service. There was a devotee. She was a model.
We can value the beauty, but we cannot use it.
Yeah, we value. Or you can see, well, she's very beautiful. Just imagine how beautiful Krishna is. So her beauty is coming from Krishna, and her beauty is an insignificant fragment of Krishna's beauty, so we can just imagine how beautiful he is. So that's one way of seeing it. There was a devotee, very famous model, and she became a devotee, and so she was often used in BTG and other magazines.
From France.
Yeah, I think France or Switzerland. Yeah. So nobody thought, oh, she's beautiful. Well, I can't say nobody thought, but it wasn't like every brahmachari was proposing to her. But she's beautiful. That can be used in Krishna service. So that's an example Prabhupada gave. You see something which materially for you used to be very enjoyable, and now you think, oh, this is beautiful, how we can use this in Krishna service. Like sometimes you see a beautiful house, almost like a mansion, a little castle, and you think, that would make a nice temple. Beautiful, beautiful building. We could have 50 brahmacharis living in here, and 25 women could live here, and there's a big room for a temple that has a huge kitchen. But if you're not a devotee, you think, wow, what a nice house I can enjoy here with my family. So it's just a very simple switch. So if we're remembering Krishna, then we see everything spiritually. If we're forgetting Krishna, we see everything in relation to our sense gratification, how I can enjoy.
Do you mean that the devotee is doing from the house temple, and the materialist is doing the house?
Yeah.
His own house.
It's like manasa deha geha, mind, body, family. I don't see my mind, I don't see my body, and I don't see my family as mine for my enjoyment. Like, it's easy to say, oh, utilize the flowers for Krishna. Okay, that's easy. But then I say, your body is not meant for your enjoyment. That's harder. See, this body belongs to Krishna. So, spiritual vision is, not even the body, I can't even enjoy the body. It's not meant for my enjoyment. And my mind and thoughts, I can't think about sense gratification. The mind is not meant for my enjoyment. So so what Prabhupada's saying is, if you think of Krishna, you're spiritual, but unless you're spiritual, how do you think of Krishna? So it's It goes both ways. If I'm thinking of everything for my sense gratification, how can I think of Krishna? Right? And if I'm thinking of everything for his service, I'm always thinking of Krishna. So one time, Prabhupada was asked, like, how do you think of Krishna 24 hours a day? He said, because you see everything is Krishna's. And therefore, everywhere you look, you see Krishna. Okay, that flower is for Krishna. This stand is for Krishna. This tablet is for Krishna.
But what about things that our body really needs? Like, how can I say that these clothes are for Krishna? Because it is for me, yes, and I need to buy clothes from time to time.
Your body belongs to Krishna. So if you're buying clothes for your body, it's for service.
Okay.
If you think, oh, I look really beautiful in these clothes, then maybe it's mixed. Of course, that's natural. But you're supposed to think, I look beautiful, so I will look beautiful for Krishna, or people will see that devotees are beautiful. Some connection has to be there. And that's how you think of Krishna. Like, unless you have bhava, or close to bhava, it's impossible to personally think of Krishna 24/7, because we think of sense gratification. But in the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti, if you can see and utilize everything for Krishna, see Krishna, and that everything is his, that's how you're thinking of him. And seeing the philosophy, like everywhere you look, it reminds you, oh yeah, Prabhupada said this. Or people are so foolish, they think like this, but actually it's like that. And so everywhere you go, like Prabhupada once was making a joke, we have a cigarette in America, it's called Cool. The reason it's called Cool is they make the filter on the cigarette, they put menthol, so when you smoke, it's like, it's supposed to be refreshing. It's a very refreshing smoke, which basically means very refreshing fire. And Prabhupada would joke about it, and he said, they're smoking fire, and they're saying, it is cool. Cool meaning cold. And so he was joking about it. So he's seeing even the cigarette in relation to Krishna, just by saying how he was making the point of how we're being conditioned and manipulated by propaganda, and that was an example of it. So, you just see somebody smoking a cool cigarette and say, wait a minute, just see how people are being misguided. It's not cool, it's hot, and they're being made to believe it's cool. So we saw that with Prabhupada. Everything reminded him of Krishna, and every situation became an impetus to talk about Krishna. And so it also worked on us. It became contagious. As we'd walk on the beach and the tide would come up and the devotees would say, oh, Prabhupada, the ocean is trying to touch your lotus feet. It's coming up higher to touch your feet. It's just, joking, but still, always connecting it to Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada wanted us to do. That's one of the reasons he gave us so many books, so that you have so much you can talk about. Look at all these things in the books. What are you going to talk about? Talk about something that connects to Krishna.
But what about the situation that we are trying in a bit artificial way connect everything with Krishna? I mean, we many times discuss it, but let's say I'm having a car, yes, and this car is quite good, and I'm making a kind of excuse that I need a better car for Krishna, yes, or I need a better something, and this is for Krishna, but inside it's just a kind of excuse that I want something better, but I'm saying it is for Krishna. So when it's like really for Krishna, I mean, because let's say I have a good
it's just
car
different.
And
it's
I
just
wanna,
different stages.
Yeah.
It's different stages. That's a difficult question to answer. I know a devotee picked me up in a Mercedes. And he said, I bought this car to pick up the Prabhupada disciples from the airport. Yeah, okay, that's good. But he also has the car. You know, so that's a good excuse, and that's what and anytime Prabhupada disciple comes, senior devotee comes, they call him up and he goes, and that's why he has that car. But he also gets to use it. So, obviously, until we become pure, there is a mixture with what are our own needs. And I never saw Prabhupada really speak against that. As long as that, whatever it is you got, was used for Krishna. Okay, so you like a Mercedes? Prabhupada might. I never heard him say why.
But he said only about ashrams. He said for grihastha it is normal.
Yeah, for brahmachari, of course, it's different.
But for brahmachari to have car, and he said, I am using it for Krishna. But we say, you brahmachari, sorry. Yes.
I mean, you know, it depends. Because let's say obviously I'm traveling all around the country, Sankirtan, so you get a van and like that.
Yeah.
No one has a problem with that. You get something reliable. It should be comfortable, so when you arrive at your Sankirtan spot, you're not tired.
But should a devotee buy things which are a kind of luxury? I mean,
that's a good question. Should a devotee live in luxury? The general answer, of course, would be no. But the other answer would be, if that devotee is going to go crazy because he doesn't have certain things, then if he doesn't get them, what's he doing? He's thinking about them all the time. You know how it is. Sometimes you're hungry, but you just had breakfast a few hours ago and you shouldn't eat, but you keep thinking about eating, and so at some point you say, I have to eat because I want to stop thinking about eating. So you really shouldn't eat, but you really should, so you can stop. So sometimes it's like that this is due to my conditioned nature. I know I don't really need this, but I want it, and if I don't have it, I'll be thinking about it. So I just get it out of the way. Okay, so I have the Mercedes, and now I don't think about it. This is, I want a good car, I want to drive comfortably. Do I really need it? No, but okay. But so what he's saying, I'm a grihastha, I made the money. So, you make the money. Like Prabhupada, sometimes in the very early days of the movement, he was directing devotees how to spend the money, but then he said, well, you made the money, so you decide how to spend it. That was even to temple devotees. So, of course, Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga, bhakti is based on renunciation. So that's the goal. But when can you get there is the question. The goal is become more renounced, live more simply, live with less. But sometimes you have to have more to have less. You have to have more, so eventually you can have less.
But I'm also wondering if we as the devotees, should we participate in this consumptions? Yes, this is the word in English also, no? I mean that, it's all about buying things, all the
consumerism.
time. Yes,
yeah.
all the time having something new. Because you know what I mean. Let's say I'm a grihastha and I'm a rich grihastha and I can afford it. I can buy a new computer every month, always better and better. But we know all that we are increasing all. And with clothes it's the same. Okay, I can have these pants, but I'm a woman and I like to have something new from time to time. So should I follow my nature, or a man who likes all those new phones, like my husband, all the time having a new phone? Is it not? And he can afford it, or a new guitar or this or that. So we should minimize things, or just follow.
This brings up a broader question or a broader observation. We see that there are people in the world who are very conscious of what we're doing with the planet, especially how consumerism is contaminating the planet, from something simple as buying water in a plastic bottle to, like you're saying, buying new computers all the time, landfills increasing, and all the materials needed to make that computer, buying a new car every 3 years, all the contamination going into manufacturing that car, etc., etc. as well as the negative effect it has on our own consciousness from always accumulating and filling your house with stuff. Because many people who go and who decide to live a more simple life say that they gave away like half of the things they own. And when they did, they felt more free, their house was more empty, it felt better. Right? So there are people who are conscious like that. And then there are, people who are going back to the land, growing their own food, pushing that. And you see videos on Facebook of people who are doing all kinds of amazing houses out of just dirt and bags and rubber tires and various kinds of technologies that people are dreaming up because they don't want to utilize coal and they don't want to utilize fossil fuels. And then you see devotees completely the opposite. And it's an interesting phenomenon. Sometimes, aside from that, you'll see people who are, Buddhist, mindful, yogis, meditating and trying to be, very equipoised and good people and vegetarian and for the environment. Not all, obviously, but there definitely are people like that who are focused on developing virtues, developing compassion, serving. You definitely see people like that. We might say, yeah, but what's the value of the service? That's another discussion. But the fact is that they like to serve. They like to help. They'll make self-sacrifice. And then you'll find people, very peaceful people. You'll find people who are very easy to get along with. You'll find people who are quite humble, introspective. They're willing to admit their mistakes. There are people like that everywhere. And you find devotees who are total opposite. Or worse than the total opposite. And you sometimes question your mind, how is it that this person isn't even a devotee, but it seems like they have so many qualities that this devotee doesn't have? How is that possible? And it's a reality. We see it. And we have to deal with it because we see it. It just is. I was dealing with a devotee recently, and the exchange was such that there was like nothing reminiscent of devotion, qualities of a devotee in the exchange. And it was like, how is this possible? That someone who is a good devotee could then manifest so many other qualities, and the only answer is conditioning. It's just the conditioning we bring. This is our conditioning. Some people, karma, samskaras. Your nature is angry. You're angry. Or whatever it is you are. And it can also be just emotional problems, and it could manifest in a way that you have bad relationships and you don't treat people well. So Prabhupada always said, look at how someone's surrendering their life to Krishna as the most important quality. And so in answer to your question, there might be some devotee and he or she comes, dressed really well, gold rings, gold watch, and has a Mercedes and all this. But we don't really judge on that basis. We'll say, well, look at what kind of devotee are there, what kind of service are they doing. Look at that. That's the main thing. Because there are many devotees who, by their karma, are very wealthy, and they spend their money. They have beautiful homes, cars, and so forth, jewelry, but they're amazing devotees. They've given their life, they've made so many sacrifices. So my understanding, or you could say my realization, was that that's just, Prabhupada said, if all you can eat is eat 2 chapatis, if you can eat 10 chapatis. So, to me, they need 10 chapatis. At the same time, my personal wish, which may never come to pass unless the economy completely crashes, my personal wish is I would like to see devotees living more in a line with the simplicity and renunciation that is given to us. I think that teaches more. But I don't think it's going to happen. At least I don't see it. And I don't want to be critical of anyone, but it does seem that the conditioning is not only from past lives, it's from this life, it's from social pressure. I was just hearing a lecture by a guru. It's not even an ISKCON guru. It doesn't even have a disciplic succession. But he's very much into Indian culture, and he was just pointing out how Indian culture was just bankrupt by the British, and it's continued, and we're completely westernized. So you'll find now people becoming devotees, but they have complete westernized values. Money is extremely important. Prestige is extremely important. You know, what you wear, what you drive, where you live, all this is very important. And we'll look at that and say, this is all useless. But now they become a devotee, and it's still somewhat important because conditioning goes so deep. So the way I understand it, for ISKCON to be more in line with what Prabhupada's teaching and to be able to not be so much influenced by society, we have to create a new culture within ISKCON so that when people come in that culture, it's completely different. You're not important because you're the temple president. You're not important because of this or that. You're important because you're a devotee. And you're respected by your advancement, not by your position. And that the more you advance, the more renounced you are, not the opposite. Not like, okay, the more you go up, the bigger and better. And then if we have that culture, then as devotees join, they'll understand, oh, that's what it means to be a devotee. It means to simplify. So, you go into community and devotees are living in nice homes, but they're not extravagant. Just enough, sufficient, not too little, but sufficient. And they're dedicated and they're living quite simply, and a lot of the devotees there have capabilities to become very wealthy and successful materially, and they gave it up to live this simple life. And then you see that, and then you go, oh. But it seems like when you read it, that's not, for most people, reading isn't enough. They actually have to see it manifest. And so the more devotees that are living in alignment with that, the better. And that's why the push for Varnashram is there in Varnashram communities where we would live without a lot of modern amenities. So, realistically, you're probably going to see both in ISKCON, the Varnashram communities, simple living, and you'll see people who just, they spent like 8 years in university so they could become a brain surgeon and make like $50,000, in a 4-hour surgery, and they don't want to give it up because they want to live that lifestyle. So, but they can become devotees and purified. And then perhaps in the later years of their life, when they're 65, 70, all that money accumulated, they go, okay, now it's time for renunciation. At that point, they'll spend it. They'll get rid of it. They'll simplify. They're just not ready yet for it, so they'll do it later. So renounce as much as you can now, and when you get older, renounce more. That's how it's going to work, and we're all different. And a lot of devotees also who are, like what you said, they like nice clothes, they like nice gadgets, they know that it's stupid, but they know they need it, and it just makes them feel good. And it's like I have a perfectly wonderful phone, Samsung S8, and they came out with an S9. So I don't think, I have to get an S9 because you can, it can, has a zapper on it, it can knock people dead or something. And it does this and 3D animation, and you can, it's like, but if this were not a good phone and the S9 came out, or the S9 had some function that would enhance my preaching, then I'd say, yeah, I want to get the S9 immediately. Or my computer, I'm doing video editing, or I'm doing audio recording. My computer's too slow. It's not, or the hard drive's too small. Yeah, of course. Speed it up or get a new one, no problem. Or get a bigger, I can't do it, I need a bigger screen. Okay, that's for your service. That's different. That's fine. So some of us will just, we have to go through, I need this, I need that, even though I don't need it, but I need it. I don't need it, but I need it. That's the answer. That's the short answer. I don't need it, but I need it. And I know I don't need it, but I know I need it. Because if I don't have it, I'll be thinking that I want it, so just get it and stop thinking that I want it. And then, right?
But it might be a never-ending story.
Well, hopefully if the devotee is sincere, they understand that, I will grow out of this. I don't believe it's never ending, because when I look at my father, when he was in his late 80s and early 90s, I look at my mother-in-law, I look at older people, it's a naturally it's a renounced position. So my mother and wife, they go shopping, but she just wants to buy things for us. She doesn't want, so like, what do I need? I have everything, What do I need? I'm old, I'm going to die. Well, so that mentality is there. Here, take this, take that. So that naturally older people give. Let me buy this for you. I have an extra one, why don't you take it? Where when you just get married, it's all about accumulating. We need this, we need that. We need the blender, we need the juicer, we need the whatever, to make the dough. We need the grinder. We need the paintings. We need the rug. We need the curtains. No, we need new curtains. Oh, the sofa's old. We need a new one. It's always about accumulation. And therefore women is called stri, expanding. So when you get married, it's all about building up, building up, building up. But when you get older, 50, 60, 70s, it's all about giving up, by nature's process. So I would say that it's going to happen naturally, and I think any sincere devotee, when they get older, what I've seen is they tend to kind of go back into that mood they had when they were younger devotees as preachers and living without much, and want to engage. Okay, let's do more. Not everybody necessarily, but that mood is naturally stronger. We have seen the opposite happen, where an older person remarries and then starts over again. But I think that's the exception.
Jeszcze Pawełko, ale kochanie, bo my musimy odjechać.
Mogło zadać pytanie,
Słoneczko, bo mamy
idziemy, tak? Dobra, okej. Dobra.
Ale pamiętaj o tym pytaniu.
Well, we should stop now, because we have to leave at 10 o'clock.
No, we have to leave actually 9:30.
So I have to eat something.
Yes.
So we're going to stop now, and we'll have class tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Tell all your friends. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.